they're live. Okay. Yeah, you can open it up with number 6.
I think that's a little too close. What? I think that's yeah.
Hello, my name is Riley, and you are watching GLoLady TV.
No. She says you want. Camera 2? Do I hit camera 2?
Earth very shortly. No, it's this. Yeah, turn that one off. Number 2. Switch to number 2. Camera number 2. Here we are. Whoa. Believe it or not, we got it. Okay, if I go down like this, yeah, it will work. It's one of those days, and I've had it up about here. I can hear you guys in the control room if you want to turn that off in there. Thank you. Do me a favor, switch to camera 1. I'm going to move camera 2, and then I'll be back.
Oh, yeah?
How come it's all us?
Okay, now you can go camera 2. Now, we're going to take over from here. And I'm going to show you something that I have been working on recently. Jeff, if you would, wait a minute. Switch in there on the control. You're going to want the roll-in. So the switcher, Mark, put the switcher on roll-in. Make sure you have sound on roll-in. Is there sound on roll-in? Okay, press play on roll-in and switch it to roll-in. And then, yeah. No, leave it on roll-in. Switch it back off. Hold on, wait a minute. Let me go in and take care of this.
Memories?
Keep your back straight, my love.
Say it loud in Russian. This is public TV.
Это публичное телевидение. Oh my.
Camera 2, and we'll start. Oh, it's in my purse? Oh, frickin' A.
Lisa, get your. Okay.
Okay. Now, I feel a little bit better, thank you. It's been one of those days today, and trust me, it's not going to take much to set me off. I've about had it too much. And this is being filmed at URTV. It's a public access station, which means that the public has access to professional equipment. But we pay to produce our own work. So I enjoy what I do, and since I'm not getting paid to do this, I like to use my own artistic creativity, and we'll let it at that. Egypt, what's so important? If you watch this week, you will see where a few of us went to Vance Monument last Sunday, and we are standing in support of the people in Egypt. We feel that the people's rights are being violated, and we think that their president should step down. And it seems like if they can't control you, they will destroy you, which is sad. That's how a lot of our government is also. Walmart, I talked to you about Walmart last week. Well, Walmart was very nice and called me up. And do not think that one person cannot make a difference, because, as I say, the person who says you cannot change the world is the one who's not willing to try. Because I called, because I said what I said on my show last week, Walmart is now going to let the customer service centers know that they have these guidelines and this is what it is, and if you put money on that card, it's going to cost you if it's been deactivated. So, like I said, stand up for your rights. If you don't, they are going to take advantage of you royally. And then we come down to the North Carolina Cannabis Patients Association. There's Dr. Milton Bird. He's going to be a guest on the 18th, and I'm sure that you're going to find him very, I can't say just one word in which to describe him. This is what was going off earlier, and it's mine. I thought it was his. So I wanted to let you know it was mine. That was my alarm that says, hey man, we're live on frickin' air. Okay, as well as the industrial hemp. Dr. Bird, Milton Bird, he, like I said, there isn't one word to describe him. He's a very amazing, intelligent, fantastic human being. And he's going to be coming on and he's going to be discussing several issues related to cannabis, marijuana, industrial hemp, all that other kind of good stuff. Because what I just found out today was very, very amazing. And I hope that you guys like that promo that I did. That was for URTV, to raise some awareness for URTV. I'm sure that there's going to be some people out there who are really perturbed. And if you are, well, good, then I got your attention. And it's very important that we maintain our First Amendment, which is the right of free speech. And not just the right of free speech, but to hold our government accountable. So with that, I am going to talk a little bit about our guests today. My guests today are Virato and Dhiraja from Asheville, who are presenting the ancient art of Tantra in Asheville and around the world, including Russia. And they also publish Asheville Magazine. And of course, Virato has his own show here on URTV. Oh, okay. You're back again. All right. Dhiraja. Dhiraja was born in the Ukraine, then a part of the Soviet Union. Her early childhood until age 10 was spent in
Tajikistan.
Okay, that's what she said. Near China. She has explored a few spiritual paths and was greatly influenced by the enlightened mystic and tantric master Osho. Dhiraja is...
Pardon me.
Osho. Okay. Dhiraja is not part of this world, and as an empath or intuitive, is often able to predict situations before they occur, and often travels into other dimensions of consciousness. A natural healer, Her touch itself seems to create an altered state and healing in those she touches. Dhiraja embodies a spiritual philosophy of existence and enlightenment. You can learn more about Dhiraja and her artwork, and that's newfrontier.com, Dhiraja. Now I'm going to go in and put this up on the CG. It was, trust me, very chaotic when we first started. Virato left corporate America in 1976, beginning his expansive journey into psychology, metaphysics, and self-realization. He served on the board of directors of the Association for Humanistic Psychology and has held active positions with the established organization now called the Forum, LifeSpring, the Insight Trainings, and other self-help growth organizations. Over the past 30 years, he has been a practical transpersonal psychotherapist, supporting the expansion of human awareness. In 1979, he traveled to, is that Pune?
Peru.
Pune.
Pune,
Oh,
Pune,
Pune.
India,
Okay.
where
Pune.
he studied meditation and Eastern philosophy and leading-edge psychotherapeutic spiritual methods, becoming a, what is that?
Sannyasin.
Sannyasin of the mystic Osho. And in 1982, Virato founded and served as the director of
Prem Segar.
Meditation Center in Philadelphia. Virato has traveled traveled afar, presenting his powerful transformational lectures and self-help events to millions worldwide. Learn more about, and that's the New Frontier also. So yes, I'm sure everybody's out there and they're saying, oh, okay, there's two different ones. Oh, well, here, I'll let you have that one. Okay. I'll take the one that's more colorful.
Okay.
And I'm sure that people are out there and it's like, wondering, what is Tantra? Is that how it's pronounced?
Like tomato and tomato.
Okay, it all
Tantra or
depends
Tantra.
on who,
Tantra seems to be the popular.
on who's asking.
Yeah,
Okay.
Tantra.
Okay.
So you had a
Alright.
question?
Yeah, I'm looking at the cameras. Yeah. See, we don't have a hair or makeup people here, and because I was running around like crazy, I'm all sweated up, and yeah, you can take it off me. Thank you. Okay, and what does Tantra seem to have so much to do with sex?
Well, when people first hear, by the way, this is my beloved Dhiraja, and I'm Virato, although she could be Virato and I could be Dhiraja, so we want to make sure that you know that.
Okay, you guys hear that?
Yeah. All right.
Mark, would you do me a favor and put camera 3 on Dhiraja and Virato, please? And switch it back to 1. Yeah, you can switch it back to 1.
For those who are watching live, it's really interesting that these are some of the things that you do not see on commercial TV. So if you turn to channel 20, and if you're passing through it, you will see really raw footage, and this is what we are about. But anyway, you asked the question, what is Tantra? And then you say, what does it have to do with sex? Because if I'm heard anywhere, I trust I'm being heard. That's because it does. And the initial information that came back about this Vedic tradition, which comes from the Hindus, India, a lot of it was brought back by a man called Sir Richard Burton, not the Richard Burton actor, but an anthropologist and a historian and geologist, and a man about town from London. And he had traveled with the king or the queen's money and discovered the ancient artifacts of Tantra. And a lot of those, the ones that were the graphic that were carved and shown are the sexual ones, Kathmandu and a number of other places throughout the Indian peninsula. So the Kama Sutra is supposed to be a part of Tantra when it really isn't. In a sense, it's a sexual, sensual document. But Tantra is, a lot bigger, a lot bigger. So depending upon what question you're asking, it's a lifestyle, it's a spiritual practice, and it involves accepting unconditional love and being able to live your life from that. And everyone who practices Tantra doesn't necessarily belong to a particular group. It's not a religion. It's not a cult, unless you want to call it that. And they have different viewpoints. There are some people in the astral area who would see what I'm doing now as quite pedantic and just a lot of blah blah. Then they want to really get down, so to speak. And from my perspective now, and I'll probably get some nasty calls, it's a good front for prostitution or for people selling their sexual favors. So Tantra has been associated with that for the longest time. For those who know me, for 5 years, I couldn't even mention the word Tantra on the radio show because of its association with Tantra. So how to explain what it is? Did I say anything right?
Well, yes, and let's say what Tantra, the word means. Tantra,
Okay, yeah.
Tanoti and Trayati, weaving consciousness. Tanoti is weaving, and Trayati is consciousness. Making the tapestry of existence. Wouldn't you say so, Virato?
Yeah. It's like one could look at it all as being enlightened. And when you wake up, your finger doesn't wake up, your toe doesn't wake up, your nose doesn't wake up, unless that's the way you wake up, you know. But you wake up. You wake up. And Tantra is about waking up, and not, the biggest thing about it is that it does not divorce spirituality from physicality, and that's the big thing about it. So there are different forms of Tantra. If you want to know about them, I can tell you about that.
Well, that would be cool. Are there different forms of? And isn't yoga Tantra?
Well, Dhiraja and I have good questions about that too, and she'll give you her opinion. There are 4 essential kinds of Tantra that have been defined: Black Tantra, Red Tantra, Yellow Tantra, and White Tantra. White Tantra is kind of the one adapted by the Sikh tradition, S-I-K-H. Those are the ones who wear the turbans, the white turbans, and they wear the thing on the wrist. And they practice Kundalini Yoga and White Tantra.
White Tantra.
Which has nothing to do with sexuality at all, but has to do what sexuality has everything to do with, which is the body's energy.
Okay.
So they believe, the White Tantra people are very much like the Judaic tradition. They believe in monogamy for sure, business, doing your business well, setting up businesses, taking care of your family, etc. Then you have the Yellow Tantra, which is the way of the Dalai Lama. Okay. That's Tibetan Tantra. And their practices are like the Buddhist monks, tantric monks. They have the low sound of Y. They have this low, again, and I'll tell you the rest of it. And then you have the Black Tantra. Black Tantra is the worship of Kali, or we could look at it as the death worship, and taking it down to levels that have to do with current sensual stuff. It would be like sadomasochism, bloodletting, whipping, penance, and whatever you wanted. And voodoo, as an example, is part of that Black Tantra. And then we have Red Tantra, which is the Tantra of the earth, of the flesh, of sensuality. Sensuality. Mm-hmm. How you smell, what you taste, what you see, what you feel, the culturation of the human being. Now, the one thread that goes throughout these, which are the Tantras, they all have to do with specific breathing practices. Yeah? And in the Hindu tradition, it's called pranayama, P-R-A-N-A, prana, Y-A-M-A, the breathing in of vital energy. They also have to do with meditative processes. So all the Tantras have meditation. And they have to do with this connection between the physical plane and the non-physical plane. But they're quite different, and really different in ways. And basically, I have looked at all of the tantras, right? And for me, it's the one Red Tantra, which is most of the work I did was very sexually oriented. You know, like 30 years of that, and to find out that the real essence, I mean, there could still be Tantra teachers doing that too, and so what?
Yeah.
Now, whether the hookers and the prostitutes and those who allude to it are really involved, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But they've not responded to me when I've asked them. I'd like to know what you're doing, you know. So does that give you a kind of a picture of what it is? It's like everything. It's like the ultimate, you know, if you're not Tantra from my perspective, sometimes I'll have pity on you because you're not really there.
Mm-hmm.
It's waking up in all aspects of life.
So you do it from the time you get up? Is it a mental process? Is it a vibration?
Imagine yourself with a little sliver of fresh pineapple, not too cold, room temperature, succulent. Take it up and start to smell it. Taste it, squeeze it, feel it. That's Tantra.
Awareness.
Living in the moment.
It's what you're getting. It's fully, one of the processes that we do is like a half hour of eating a piece of pineapple. 1/2 hour. Most people rape their food. They want to know why they're overweight because they don't eat their food. They're not enjoying their food. And in Tantra, you'll find that the body's weight takes care of itself when we become attuned. So the sensual part, like an example, we both have this. We have become allergic to the poisons that people wear, and they pay $60 to $120 for a bottle of it, whether it be Joy or whether it be their Febreze or anything like that.
Even Chanel number 5.
Chanel number 5. See, I look at that as not only is it on awareness on the people wearing it, but it's a violation of my space. Much the same as smoking cigarettes and drawing the smoke
It's a
around.
pure chemical that is affecting the brain, our primal brain, reptilian part.
So all of this is pieces of it. Pieces of it are Tantra. And Tantra is basically, from the Red Tantra, is the really enjoyment of life. And the now, eating organic food, you know, getting the body weight down, having the right relationships, not having things screwed up in your life. All of that we can look at. If this is all happening to you, investigate living a tantric lifestyle. That's all I can say.
How long have you been living it?
Well, you
Together
know,
as a...
yeah.
Yeah.
9 years, 10, 11.
You see, there's no Tantra school, and then all of a sudden you graduate and now you're a Tantra person.
Mm-hmm.
It's waking up, doing whether it be the S training, whether it be psychotherapeutic techniques, whether it be purging the body, whether it be eating plant-based food and not even thinking about going near McDonald's. You know, when I drive by a Burger King, I'm offended by the smell. Not only do I think of the people being in there killing themselves, I want to go in the line and just rip the counter out to do my good, you know. But it's all of these things together. So when they start coming up and one says, I really want the pleasure of life. I don't want stress. I don't want struggle. How do I get it all to flow? And that's what Tantra sometimes called the art of let go.
Art of let go?
Letting go.
That's a letting go and letting God.
Yeah, that's what I used to say. Let go,
Yeah.
let God, and everything will be good. Go, God, good. And see, and also people say, you know, when I did the radio show and the TV show, it was like, what about God? What about that kind of spirituality? And I say this, I can't say this for my beloved, but I, look at my words, right? I do not believe in God. If you play that back again, hear that. See my face, I said it. Now, that said, all beliefs for me are mechanisms by which people either are controlled unconsciously or are self-controlled because they're mentally dysfunctional. Now, does it mean we don't have a point of view? Of course. I don't like to go out in the snow. But if it were July 5th and it were 104 outside, you'd like the snow, wouldn't you? So it's all relative. So my point of view changes like the clouds. So, but I don't believe in God. How do I believe in God? How does one believe in the sun? How does one believe in a little puppy dog or a little child that you're caressing or a flower? You can't, there's nothing to believe. Belief keeps away. You know what belief does? Belief is blasphemy of truth. Got that? All right, great. It's your show. GLoLady.
I'm here.
So that's, yeah. So there's certain things that we've been doing is to offer, now that the Clear Channel gag thing is off, we've started to present it again. And it's a little difficult because most of the information that's out there on me has been really the sexual Tantra. And most people that know about the work I did in Russia and other parts of the world were very sexually oriented. From the viewpoint of the sex person, from the viewpoint of the pornographer, of the dirty old man, of people, you know the Janet Jackson thing? I got to share this with you. Come on. You feeling better already? What is the biggest male-oriented testosterone celebration in America? Happens once a year.
Super Bowl.
It's the Super Bowl, right? So you would think that if there was ever going to be anything sexual that would be accepted by our society, it would be on the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
But when Janet Jackson did that, it was the biggest offense. Clear Channel was like $50 million of fines. Everybody was fined. The whole thing was insanity. At the Super Bowl, I don't get it.
Well, that's because our whole society is perverse. I mean, we really have to get down to the bottom of exactly what it is. I mean, what you're talking about is getting to the person's true spirit. You know, I mean, you know, ever since these so-called Christians, you know, with the Adam and Eve and oh, you know, you're naked. You know, I mean, children don't know that they're naked until they're told that they're naked. You know, you know.
Controversial subject, isn't it?
Well,
what
you know, it's like, I mean, we are media fed, corporate driven, and until the truth of so many things come out, until people stand up and say, you know, so what if a frickin' nipple popped up? You know, well, you know, I mean, we are so offended by the naked body. And,
well, I can see it in a Baptist meeting, you know, in a Baptist or a children's school. But at the Super Bowl?
Well, if it were used as a nipple, which means that nipple is to feed a child and not look at it in a sexual context.
Oh, see, I take it the other way. Totally the other way. I think that on the Super Bowl, she should have stayed there, and it should have been a masturbatory fantasy for all the men watching.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, that's
well, then you're doing the same thing,
well,
aren't you?
I'm not talking how it was. I don't think that
Super Bowl,
right, the Super Bowl. But it was like it should have been looked at it, you know, instead of in shame and shame and shame. You know, it should have been, you know,
cool.
Yeah, it popped out. Oh, excuse me, that wasn't part of it. You know, but why do we keep looking at a naked body in these manners? It's our body. You know, why do we have to hide our bodies in shame?
Did you do the naked bike ride?
Did I do a naked bike ride? No.
My wife, beloved wife, she rode naked. We have pictures on YouTube.
Well, there you go.
With
you know what? I gotta say
150
something.
other people.
I love this woman
and
dearly.
thousands
I love this woman.
around the world.
An activist that doesn't get the activity done is a half activist.
Oh, well, now I'm not
mean?
saying that I don't have boobs down on Main Street in Daytona.
Doesn't matter.
You know, or you know, yeah, I'm in a book in Daytona showing my boobs. You know, big deal.
Record that, make copies of it.
You know, it's like I've been to nudist colonies where children and adults, you know, old people, young people swam nude together, and it's like, you know, that's where what's wrong with the naked body came into play. You know, we pervert things. And it's like, why do we pervert things? So the great designers can make a fortune off of us?
Do you think that tattooing and body piercing is perversion?
I don't think so.
No comment on that.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a little tattoo that I always said I was never, and then I was drunk one night and got it. And I know that there are people who in many cultures that are not familiar with these cultures are tattooed and pierced. So I mean, that's their tradition. You know, I don't feel it's perverted. No. I mean, I'm not saying that I want my whole body tattooed, but I don't want to say that it's wrong for somebody else because I don't think that it should be. I don't think that my standards, you know, it's like, are we looking at it morally when we are putting these limitations on people?
Well, you know, let's talk about homosexuality.
Well, there you go.
Let's talk about.
I mean, I have friends who are homosexual, and you know, why should they be, you know, happy in a relationship or unhappy in a relationship?
I got a big one for you, you know, which only your TV can do this. I guess looking at a tantric lifestyle, you heard about the Trobriand Islands in Polynesia. There's no sexual taboos as such. They don't exist. Love is the basis of that.
Right.
So, what about this thing called, you know, friends of boys or pedophilia?
Because there's no taboo. You mean that a child, all of a sudden, when they turn 18, is no longer a child and they're an adult?
Right. You want to.
I know
what about the
I
girl?
know what you're saying.
What about the girl that's 11 or 12, and that is the term that we have is being molested by an adult, be it her father, her uncle, older brother, cousin. But what about the case where the child is enjoying this encounter?
Well, that's pretty much what sex is all about.
Well, but yet,
and you know, when you have children playing doctor with other children, well, you know.
Well, we know that. Yet that person who is accused of it, he gets arrested for it. If he goes to prison, a very good chance he will be killed within the 5-year period, because it is just so morally offensive to even think of that. Now, know what I think? I mean, I think everything's perverted. You know what I mean? That's it. Everybody but me. If you're not Lithuanian and you're 72 years old, you don't belong. No, I'm only kidding. Dhiraja, tell us everything.
Yes, dear. Well, I'm listening, and controversial subject we are talking about. I have lots of things to say about it, but I don't see why to talk about it. It's that's what
Cool.
I am about.
Peace, love, and harmony.
Peace, love, and harmony.
Right, and unless it harms one person, then you know what. What do you think, Shannon? You're awful quiet over here.
Well, I'm listening. I'm taking it all in. One of the things I was interested in hearing from Dhiraja was when you were talking about the bicycle ride and being naked. How did that feel? Did you feel free? Did
Yes,
you feel
completely on the wind, riding the bicycle with other people who are open-minded, with the beautiful bodies and not so beautiful. Who cares? As far as it's all one purpose.
Yeah, and you
It's
felt
really
It feels really unity.
The police were driving with everyone.
It felt unity.
And the police were as
And
naked
this
as they
police,
could be.
yes.
It was really trippy.
It felt like they were supporting us.
Now, where was this?
We actually were the astral creation of it. It started in New Zealand or something, and then it got all over the world. It's now called the International Naked Bike Ride, and there are like 175 countries participate every year. Southern Hemisphere does it different than us because their summers are different. And basically people protesting the whole thing of oil and, you know, what we've been talking about, global warming and everything. And they figured, people don't know that in Asheville, for instance, there's no law against a woman bearing her breast totally and walking the streets of Asheville.
Cool.
It's totally legal, and if anyone wants to know about that,
Ladies, let's go out.
just go up to any female Asheville officer and ask her straight out. You know, and she'll tell you, I heard her say, well, but you still could be cause deserving the peace.
Disturbing the peace?
Yeah, either horrifying the people, having them try to jump you. No, but anyway, that was the idea. And being tantric, words like licentious and license. Mm-hmm. If someone has a license, you have the right to do something. But having a license doesn't mean you have to be licentious. Having a license doesn't mean you drive down Patton Avenue at 100 miles an hour. Mm-hmm. You know, so the idea of the Tantra is to letting go and whatever the gripes are. And I'm looking at it every time like something, because my health is this, that didn't go bad. And the more I don't have going good, what it is for us is we look at this without any religious and stuff like that and saying, what part do I play in this? The very part of being upset, even if it's true, is BS. Even if you jumped out of a 40-story building and you're 35 stories down already, just let go and feel the joy. You ever hear the Diamond Sutra, the story of the Diamond Sutra?
No.
This is Tantra, very briefly. This is from Buddhist tradition. It's called the Diamond Sutra. Very well known. As the story goes, there's this Buddhist guy or whatever walking, and all of a sudden he sees a band of lions coming at him. He sees them coming. So he starts running away from them. He runs and he runs. He comes to the edge of a cliff. That's it. But he sees a vine hanging off the cliff. And he immediately, as he's running from the lions, first he sees the lions, he gets in fear. Then he sees he can run, he gets in happy. Then he sees he's going to fall, he gets in fear. Then he sees this thing and he starts to climb down. And he starts to climb down, he says, I'm free. And then he looks at the bottom, and there's a bigger band of lions at the bottom. He stops, he's going down, and he looks with his eyes, and he sees the most succulent strawberry growing out of the side of the mountain. And he just reaches over, holding on, and eats the strawberry. And gets in the moment. And all the fear disappears. So that's a famous Buddhist thing, and it's being in that space and looking at it. It isn't being Pollyanna, though. See, the Pollyanna is if you surrender 99%. Okay. It's like, I'm there, but when I get out of this thing, I'm going to cut his head off. All right? Instead of saying, take it. Do you know the story about a Jewish comedian, I forget his name, whatever. The story goes, somebody came up to him with a gun and said, your money or your life? And he hesitated. You know that joke? So, you know, in Tantra, what do you want? What do you take? We have a process that we did in Russia where a person could walk, I mean, the worst thing in your mind, if you can think, as a woman, walking down some street someplace in an unknown city, and if you have stereotypes, you can pick your own. They can be Puerto Rican, they could be black, they could be Chicanos, they could be whatever you want them to be, Russian, Moscow. And you come and all of a sudden you see a whole group of them coming at you. Your reaction to that is the whole aspect of life, because we're always dealt a set of cards, and we're not always going to get a royal flush. So in that situation, this woman, by her absolute letting go at that moment, when there's total fearlessness, the only thing that's left is love. There's a thing called A Course in Miracles, probably you heard of it, and it kind of talks about that, because they can't coexist. If they coexist, what you know, you're confused. I mean, if you're totally in fear, you're on the battlefront, you're running, but what happens is the soldier that's running as a hero, he's not in fear. He's as happy as a pig, and you know what? Because he's going out there to save the troops and to give his life for his country or for God or for my wife or for my child. They don't feel fear. Fear is felt by people that don't do anything. They curl up and they go into their bed and they cry and they suck on their nipple, proverbially. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in Tantra, it's more, but at the same, it's like experiencing it. You stub your toe. You don't say, "No, I'm a Buddha. I didn't stub my toe." You let out the expletives in the four-letter words when you stub your toe. Totally, you be total. We have a process we do. It's called dynamic meditation or chaotic meditation, where you let your violence out. You punch cushions, and you use every vile word in the book. You spit. You can do anything. So it's like instant therapy.
That's like a kid's punching bag.
Yeah.
I you remember
It's
with the
very
shmoo?
helpful.
You remember the
Without
shmoo? Both of you
violence
too
to
young.
release
There used to be a
it.
shmoo about 50 years ago called the shmoo,
Shmoo?
and you could do anything to it. It was like Jewish people
Yeah.
giving themselves for lampshades. You know, you heard that joke, right? And the shmoo, you could do it. It felt, if you were hungry, it'd fall down dead right in front of you. It'd be a steak. Or tofu. You could love it. It could be your pet. You could punch it. So they were selling these things all over America. Punching bags that were shmoos.
The kinds that fall over and get right back up.
Yeah, hit it again.
Yeah. Yeah, they still have those.
I think they do.
The punch bags.
I remember seeing one years ago that was Bozo, the clown. And you could punch Bozo and he'd come right back up with that same smile on his face because it never went away. So you were right back where you started.
So what you were talking about with the Tantra, that is the same as what Sting was talking about
Yeah.
recently?
Well, Sting and a whole lot of other people, many of them still apply to tantric sex.
Right.
So tantric sex is a particular kind of sexual union utilizing tantric principles. But tantric principles can be used for healing, for keeping warm. There's one process is called tumo, T-U-M-O, and you can lay down in snow, and I've done it. I can demonstrate it for you. You lay down in snow and you melt the snow around you because you control the hypothalamus with a meditative process, and your body won't overheat because the snow is going to keep you cool. So you're massively overheating your body, but the snow, and you melt the snow.
You did that. You've done that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done that as a kid.
You know, they're
Really? Cool.
so healing. A lot of people who have, like one of the things, I got reports back from a lot of the people who attended our advanced Tantra work in Moscow and St. Petersburg, Russia. Some of them found themselves dropping their addictions to food, dropping their addictions to alcohol, and one to heroin.
Oh, wow.
So that's really coming into their own inner sense, or shall I say, connecting to their own inner sense instead of denying it.
Yeah. Yeah. Buddhists would say our true face, or our original face, our true self. I just say it's waking up. But when I first met Dhiraja, she came to my flat, and I would have people coming over, and we'd have lectures and stuff, lots of activity. She came over, and she was wearing this fancy coat. I chased her out because I couldn't stand her artificial smell.
And I thought it was the best thing in the world that I could offer.
She thought I was really insane.
I had to put my coat outside from the window so the wind would wind it out.
Oh, yeah, would air it out.
Yeah, air it out. Thank you, Shannon.
Our Mr. teacher or master or Osho, it used to be Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh. When I first went there, I came from corporate America, and all of a sudden now I'm becoming a Swami. That was another story. But I came there with all the stuff that you had on, all these Cottrells and Canels and stuff, these $200 bottles of perfume. And those $200 a bottle of perfume, they don't go away. They stay in your skin for weeks.
Yeah.
So I got there and I couldn't get to see him because there were sniffers before you came in to sniff you to see if you could have it. And now she and I, she works at Earth Fair. We sometimes condemn Earth Fair because we can smell artificial a mile away. And you continue to smell artificial as long as artificial is patentable, and they can patent it.
Yeah.
And they can charge what they want for it depending upon how much advertising they use. But I find it offensive, particularly the fabric softener. We have a neighbor next door, and I have to tell her. Actually, I went out and bought her some fabric softener. We gave them a bottle of it because it's very offensive.
You walk down the aisle. I mean, you can't even walk down the aisle in a grocery store without getting sick.
Or the mall, going to the mall. We can't hardly go to the mall anymore because we're offended by it. And there's a whole thing that we do in our Tantra workshops and lectures about that, about becoming in touch with it. For instance, the reason MSG there's so much MSG in food, at Earth Fare, at Whole Foods, they sell it all over the place. It's not poison, by the way. It's just that too much of it will damage your brain. And why do people need more of it? Because the food's going to taste ugly without that. So they put it in. Marlboros.
Even if the
beer.
food is not very fresh, the MSG will
I'll make
smooth
it taste
it
like
out.
the best food around.
Okay, so what does MSG stand for? What
Well, that's a whole
exactly
thing.
is it?
Another show.
Monosodium
Get someone on it. Monosodium glutamate. It's got a whole lot. That's a one show in
Which is
itself. There are
yeast
people here that can
extract
talk
and
about that.
so on.
You see natural flavors on anything? You see the word natural flavors? Natural flavors is designed for the real stupid people. It says natural flavors, Molly. It's got to be good.
So it's oxymoron.
It means nothing.
So that would be what, a concentrate?
MSG is as natural as you can get. It goes by different names, but that's only one small part of it. The clothing that you wear, if you have positively charged ion, any clothing that can keep a positive charge against your body is poison for your body. So anything that's made with polyester, rayon, nylon, and if you wear it next to your skin, you're rooting for cancer or something degenerative because it's positive against positive. Only one small part. Your diet. Isn't that eating meat is bad, or it's just waking up to knowing what should I really put in my body that's going to produce the most. And eating red meat will produce either internal or external violence and confusion. Case closed, nothing to be said about that. Some of my best friends are meat eaters and even wear artificial teeth.
But used for certain purposes.
Public access TV. Do you know that on URTV, Channel 20, if you're watching, I was told, because I'm also still a producer here, that you can do anything from 2 to 6 in the morning.
Correct.
Anything.
Except
Nothing illegal.
Well, no, because Christian McKenna is not able to do her, what was the name of that show? Because she had shown female masturbation on it.
Well,
So-
you can. You can
No,
show.
it was Athena Real, and the show was Whacked Out Asheville.
Whacked out
Okay.
Asheville.
Well,
Thank you.
To the best of my knowledge, I don't talk about that, but
Yeah.
so
no,
Tantra's
you have to
letting
be,
go,
you
but
have
at
to
the
be
same
careful.
time, I really have issues with people that call themselves that this is a Tantra thing when it's nothing but a debasing orgy or a front for prostitution. I'm really, really offended by that.
I can understand that because
And
you're
they go out saying that that's Tantra. I'm not divorcing the sexual from it,
right.
because when we get to the advanced aspects of it, magic happens. I can assure you there'll never in a trillion years be even a thought of Viagra.
So you'll use herbs instead.
Yes.
That's-
And
Yohimbi.
energetic activation. Yes.
Yohimbi?
What?
Yohimbi?
No, it's
Is
not.
that one?
Yohambi?
Yeah.
No, there's no particular thing.
No particular one in.
No particular thing. Everything from Esiac to cleansing out the body, to cleansing out the kishkas, to activating the body. Some of the things are so advanced that I really don't. We have decided not to even share them at this particular point. But we will share like we do.
Isn't horny goat weed another one?
Yeah.
Again, these are food. I mean, marijuana is used. Soma is used extensively. Beer is used in some of the tantric rituals to do things in the body.
And even raw meat in very, very little bit.
Yeah.
So this is what you are now teaching in Asheville? Or shall I not say now teaching, because you have been teaching, but you are doing workshops.
If people go to that site, which is the
New
Nepal
Frontier.
Institute, just type, go into Google and type Nepal Institute, and that will give you the structure of everything, of all the workshops we do that we've done around the world, the facts about it, and what it is or is not, and And if you go to some of the links, they probably will be a little, difficult to accept by somebody who's got a real tight structure. Although I am also, I got a call 2 days ago from Memphis, Tennessee. Somebody wants to know about Christian Tantra.
Christian Tantra.
So type in Google Christian Tantra, and you'll see this whole thing I do on Christian. Because I was a born-again Christian with the Church of Christ for a number of years. I brought about 2,000 or 3,000 people to Jesus. I was jailed on the island of Malta for witnessing for Jesus in a
Really?
Catholic country. Another story.
Another
time.
life, yeah. Another
Well,
life.
then you can understand the little short clip that I had done at the beginning.
Totally.
You know,
That was good,
it
by the
was it was to show that we have a tendency to
Can I have one of those?
crucify
I
people
brought them for you, actually.
when
Oh, my God.
when they are really doing good work. And it's like, why do we want to shut people up who are doing good work? Where you know that the county commission, with all that kind of good stuff that's going on, you know that URTV is only going to be getting about $20,000 next year.
And
To run it
speaking
for
of
the
that,
whole
this
year.
is a wrap for URTV. I had a show on URTV. It was called Virato Live, but the logistics of the show didn't really work, and I guess I'm too pompous or something.
I've heard that.
But well, anyway, I think it's a great idea. I think that that the fact that this is the only medium in Asheville where you can say things without having to be so polished and being corporate.
Well, you know that we have a radio station now.
You have radio station?
And you can say whatever you want on the radio station. I mean, you
Because
don't
it's-
even have to bite your tongue on the radio
Because
station.
that doesn't go through. By the way, this is through Charter Cable, if people want to know, and it's sort of a mandate from Charter Cable. But
Well, something else that we recently found out is that AT&T is also broadcasting URTV.
are they really?
Yeah, so somebody's looking into the copyright infringement, because that's why the cable, the PEG funds, or is it the cable, the PEG funds?
Yeah, PEG funds.
But why it's now from the state instead of the individual cable companies giving to the public access.
So if you want to be part of URTV, you come down here. I think just go to the website.
Wednesday 6 o'clock.
Wednesday at 6 o'clock, there's a free orientation meeting. And then if you join, you can become a producer here.
Which means you're going to pay to produce your own work.
You still got to do your own
Don't think
thing.
that you're going to get paid. It
No,
would be
yeah.
nice, but
You take other courses here. You can take the Studio A course, Studio B course, video editing. It's a good experience.
yeah, it's a great experience. I mean, you find out how hard it is, and most people do not last past one season, which is 6 months. And we will be starting our 8th season in April. So we have come a long way, even though sometimes it doesn't look it.
Yeah, but we have, and that's what makes it public access too.
That's it.
That's part,
That's
that
it.
you can turn it on. You're going to see the real. As a matter of fact,
It's live, it's raw.
It's right. We were just at a meet and greet.
Oh, we didn't even talk about
Yeah,
the meet
well,
and
we were
greet.
just.
It's coming, it's coming.
But we were just at one, and one of the
And it was
producers. It was wonderful, and it was that Firestorm, and I'm just going to say that.
Yeah, go ahead.
One of the producers there, a newer producer, said something that just cracked me up. He said, yeah, he was a nervous wreck back there in the control room, and he said, and for the first 15 minutes, he didn't realize they were on the air. They were just checking their mics. And I thought, that's wonderful. That's real TV. Anybody that tuned in at that point said, hey, this is the real thing. We're actually seeing behind the scenes. So I think that's what makes it so wonderful. If we were all polished and we had makeup people like you talk about and hair people, then we wouldn't be URTV. We would be something else.
That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, we are real reality TV, and we've got 2 minutes going on. And in case you were wondering, I was number 33 on the sign-in, and then I found out Jonathan didn't sign in, Brian didn't sign in, so I'm sure that we had at least 40 people.
There were several that didn't, that I
Right.
couldn't get to.
Before they
Yeah,
left.
so I would say there was close to 40 people that came.
I would say at least, and we will let you know, because we're going to start doing them at the beginning of the month,
Yeah.
so more people can join us. And
Look at that. Look at that. She's got her own bumper music right there, ready to rock and roll. Come on, put it on the radio. Put it on there.
This is one of those songs that'll put a smile on your frickin' face when you're peed off. Can't you tell?
Oh, dear.
They're in there saying that we only have 1 minute.
We have 1 minute.
There is our book,
Dhiraja and
Tantra.
Virato,
on
thank you.
Yeah,
Oh,
introduction
yeah, but
to-
you can't show the beginning, or you can't.
Uh-oh.
Doesn't say anything.
Yeah.
No price on it. There's no price
Okay.
tag.
No, they're funny about showing books.
Well,
That's my artwork,
Here we go.
actually.
Oh,
showing
Yeah,
artwork.
artwork. Yeah, there you go. Stand
yeah.
still. No, we had a guest on who did the artwork on her book, and we got in trouble for showing her the cover of her
And that's
book.
not URTV, by the way. That's just public access
I get
across
away
the whole
with it,
country.
sweetheart.
Why?
Because I know. I just
Because
did
you do it.
I just did it.
Because
That's
you
all.
did it. That's right.
Well, first of all, make sure it was not 10 seconds, less than 10 seconds. So you read the company. Why, thank you, sweetie.
And stick around for Karmic Tools, because I'll tell you what, there's been a lot of really heavy-duty planetary aspects that are going on, which I'm sure that I'm not the only one who is noticing. So Kelly's going to tell you all about it, because she's blown quite a few. Yeah, I better shut my mouth on that one.
Yeah, and watch the I Ching show from 6:30 to 7:30. I'll see you again there.
Cool.
Call
Remember,
in.
we love you.
Bye. I love it. I love it. It's a dance, kind of like that we used to do.
Bless you, sweetheart.
Oh.
Take the names off. We're live. Hello, Asheville and beyond. This is Kelly M. Beard of Karmic Tools and Lunar Reflections coming to you. Happy Friday on February 4th, 2011. Oh, my goodness, time flies when you're having fun. There is so much going on, and yes, I hear that Lisa mentioned I've glued some circuits this week, so we're having adventures in technology all across the board. And everyone just be patient. This is what's going on. This is part of it. As the frequency raises, as things get off track, planets are not on their normal track anymore. It's pulling on things in a new way. So we just have to roll with it. This is the universe's way of forcing us to be flexible and fluid and go with the flow, which, frankly, I got a lot of warnings for you coming up, because Neptune, which rules Pisces and flow, takes 165 years to go around the zodiac, is going to hit Pisces pretty soon. And Uranus is coming out of Pisces and going to hit Aries, which changes the whole dynamic as well. But going with the flow truly is the theme for the next couple of years as we figure things out at this new level. That's basically what's going on. Things aren't what they used to be, and they're not what they're going to be, so we have to work with what's in front of us and kind of be here now. So we're going to get some practice by any means necessary. You know, the universe sends us customized lessons. Mine always comes in the form of shutting my computer down so that I just take some downtime. But we did okay. We managed to get through. I don't get nearly as upset as I did years and years ago. And the Aquarius new moon is kicking all week long, so we're working on new beginnings across the board. And leading up to the Taurus first quarter, which we will talk about next week. So right now we're very much in the new moon zone. I would also like to let you know we're in the cross quarter. This is the biggest news. I would love to be there one of these years. I'm going to be there at these different holidays of the year. But the cross quarter is considered a gate of power. It's the midpoint. I'm sure you've heard me speak on the fact that midpoints are really important because you go through a cycle, and whatever the halfway mark is usually creates a turning point of sorts where you have to check in, you have to know what's going on, you have to realize what's working and what's not, and decide how you're going to direct your resources going forward. So it's important that you check in midway between any kind of cycle, mid-month, mid-year, mid-cycle. So for this piece and this place that we're at right now is halfway between winter solstice, initiating the new year and setting those intentions for the new reality. That's all going on right now, and leading to spring equinox, when those seeds that we planted at winter solstice should burst forth in some way, shape, or form. So right now at this midpoint, how's it going? What did you get started in December that's working and what's not working? And how are your resources flowing or not flowing? We're going with the flow, working with what's in front of us. And I can tell you just from my own personal research and things is we're all working with a lot more than we give ourselves credit for. So I want you to really consider your tools and talents and understandings and wisdoms and offerings to your community or to the world, however you want to present it. This is all part of your offering and your reason for being here. You have something to give. So the cross quarter is considered Candlemas, which is one of, how the Christians shifted the name from Imbolc, which means in the womb. So we still are at this kind of still point, okay? And see, spring equinox, the equinoxes and the solstices are considered solar holidays. The gates of power are considered lunar holidays. So there's more behind-the-scenes work that we're doing. It's not so out in the world, okay? But we have a lot of worldly things coming up. So anything that you are doing behind the scenes during these kind of powerful, the power is invisible. It's in this shadow area where power lies. So when we're in this zone, we're doing very much behind the scenes work. So my little note to the people about cross quarters, which I'm sending out hopefully over the weekend, there will be a big Karmic Tools mailing for those of you that want to receive updates from me, is Candlemas brings in, usually they set it on the calendar around February 1st, but technically it's when the sun makes it to the midpoint of Aquarius. And that happens technically tomorrow the 5th. So right now we have some assignments. Let me give them to you. So this is the second of the 8 sacred seasons, inviting a renewal of the light, because after winter solstice the light starts returning, the days start getting longer. We're in forward motion now. We're in initiation, new beginning territory. We get to summer solstice and we start wrapping things up for the back end of the year. So right now we're still in that process of initiating. This is the season you commit to the process of nurturing the intentions you set for the new year at winter solstice. In order to create anew, sacrifices and changes must be made. This time of year coincides with several celebrations in many, many cultures, which usually give something up that is cherished, that's important to you. So what personal sacrifice can you make that you are willing? I'm willing to give up this so that I can have this. This is greater. This is more important to me. This has more value to me. So I am willing to give up this one cherished item, whatever it may be. It could be a behavior or a choice or a pattern or what have you, because, again, with Aquarius here, which is ruled by Uranus, breaking patterns is up on deck all the time. So we have a lot of support for that. But giving up something in an effort to cleanse and clear a space for renewed growth within your being and your environment. So even if you can't figure out what to do with you, start clearing your house. Space clearing is a huge, easy, you can do it any time and shift the energy around you that day. Okay, that's one of those easy, quick fixes. It's not long-term because, of course, we've got to clean our houses every week. But when you need an energy shift, the first law of the universe is order. So you go back to creating order in your immediate surroundings, and then theoretically, for me, it clears my head. It allows me to think, what's the first step? And then once you get the first step, then everything else starts to follow. And I really want to impress this upon you for the first 6 months of 2011 is Jupiter in Aries. It's all about just get started. Don't worry about where you're going. Don't worry about what it's going to be. Ultimately, don't worry about what you're creating in terms of a finished product. All you want to do right now is get started. Aries is all about being and doing. It's not a whole lot of planning and that kind of thing. Not that you don't want to plan or think things through, but I'm just saying we're going to get a chance to do that on the back end of the year. So right now it's just about getting things moving and seeing what works and what doesn't in an experimental Aries new baby kind of fashion. You're in a new zone. You're in new territory. You have new resources available to you that you have not even considered, that we all need to think a little bit outside the box here as to where our resources really lie. Okay, we're getting off of money into flow. We're getting off other people doing stuff for us into responsibility, but also support. We're supporting others, they're supporting us. There's an exchange of energy that's available now that people are excited about returning to. This is more of the natural way that humans function on the planet, and we've gotten so far away from nature that most of us have to actually remember how to do this. So think in terms of what you're willing to release in order to strengthen another aspect of your being. And this is another thing that came up because we are dealing with a lot of light and shadow at this juncture, and that is, excuse me, I apologize, that is, we want to clear space so that the new energy can come in. So you are basically preparing for something as if it's already arrived. We really want to do that. And this season that we're in, basically we're initiating a 6-month process at this point in Aquarius, which is, again, a little bit more focus on what you can give to the community, how your essence, your energy, your individuality serves the community in some way. And then as you do that, as you give and share and, again, thinking outside the box, coming up with really creative solutions, it's going to lead to 6 months from now, around August 1st, when it hits Leo time, and then we really get to connect with our hearts and make sure we're still on track for the year. So it's important that you keep in mind the front end and the back end of this, okay, as you initiate at this place. So where do you want to be by August? This is the time to seed that. What are you willing to give up to further your goals? What are you willing to fight to preserve within or around you? And what relationships are you willing to commit to and cultivate? Cross quarters, which is what we're having this weekend, they're considered gates of power, the in-between, the midpoint. You've heard me refer to it as the sweet spot, which is the very thin membrane in agriculture between seed and new life. It's a real thing. It's this particular one is about purification through fire and water, preparing a space for clean, pure, new energy to come in, okay? So theoretically, we got started, we set our intentions. Again, not a lot of physical movement, but ideas, thoughts, concepts that we're putting out there and massaging into some kind of form. And I'm going to encourage you, that's my practice for the month, is getting lots of things out of my head and into form. So if you have been nursing ideas for a really long time, it's time to take that action step, to use the Jupiter in Aries, to have faith in your process and your progress and the project that you're trying to initiate, and step out there on faith that as long as you get started, the universe will support you. But again, you have free will and choice. So the universe is not going to knock on your door and say, oh, here's your dream, and lay it out for you. You really have to engage in that regard, and this is the part of faith and work. Faith without works is dead. It doesn't mean anything. You can believe something all day long, but if you don't take an action step to back it up, then you're really in another zone and kind of spinning your wheels, and we've all been there. We don't want to do that any more than necessary. So there are some questions that you can consider during this time between the new moon and the cross quarter. Even Mercury is finally out of its retrograde zone from December. It just hit Aquarius yesterday. So now it's processing everything we really did last year. What are the ideas that took root? What ideas fell flat on their faces? And remember my thing, it may just be a timing issue. It may not be that your idea is not worthy. It's just maybe not time for that. So again, we want to think in the cycles. What was going on 6 months ago, 1 year ago, that kind of thing. Last Aquarius new moon, last February. What have you done in the last year? 6 months ago. What have you done since August? Leo time brings you to Aquarius. So essentially this whole season of Aquarius is activating my Leo Aquarius babies directly. It's an initiation integration for you guys. and it's squaring, it's challenging my Taurus Scorpio people to grow in some way. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean a bad or negative or hard, heavy challenge, although with Taurus Scorpio, it can go that route. But in general, a square just means out of your comfort zone into new territory. You've got to take some new steps. Again, with the action, there's choices to be made when you're getting squared like that. So every year, Taurus Scorpio babies, you get these activations in Aquarius time, which is January, February, and Leo time, which is July, August, end of July, beginning of August. So during those times of the year, all my Taurus Scorpio babies get pushed to grow in some way. So just paying attention to the rhythm, because once you recognize the rhythm and you know your basic components, which most of us know our sun sign, moon sign, and some of us even have gone far enough to know our rising sign, but that's the trilogy I think you should know. Your sun, moon, and rising is what's most important because it's very personal. That's your inner and outer self, your identity, and what you present to the world. So these are all really, really important. So like I said, for the first 6 months of the year, we have a lot of initiation, physical, get it started going, get something initiated, okay? Don't sleep on this Jupiter and Aries energy because it only happens every 12 years. So this is the time to expand Aries, who you are, whether you have Aries or not in your chart. This is the theme socially, collectively, up in the sky that is pushing all of us to a new level. And the back end of this year, it's going to hit Taurus. So theoretically, if we just get started, when we get to the second half of this year, we can anchor things a little bit deeper. With the Taurus energy, it'll help us cultivate something physical, tangible, useful, and beautiful. That's Taurus's whole thing. It has to be useful and practical, but also yummy and delicious and beautiful and juicy. So we really want to think in those terms, which takes you right back to your heart, your center. Where's that seed coming from, initiating from? And we do know that Taurus also has a lot to do with monetary worth and value and resources, material comfort even. So Jupiter's going to expand that realm, but for addictive personalities or for people with issues around food, sex, or spending, then that could expand those realms. It could make those things bigger rather than anchoring a new reality. So, or a new truth and story, which Jupiter represents. So in this case, I'd like you to focus this time, especially with the Aquarius new moon and the cross quarter, because this is a chance to break out of a pattern. This is a chance to really try something radical for yourself, by your own definition, so that you are in a position that you recognize you initiated something in Aries, you got started on a new path, on a new way of life, on a new understanding. Whatever it is that you're starting new, by the time we get to Taurus, we want to know if it's worth it. Is this worth further your investment? And worth is always going to be defined by your own individual terms. What are you worth? What is your energy and time worth? And how worthy are you to receive and to be able to receive that energy back? So again, with keeping flow going, you want to pour out energy, but you want to receive energy back. So you have to feel worthy of that. You have to believe that it's possible. And there's a lot of people going through doom and gloom because of the crumble and because things are crashing and burning around us. But honest to God, there are shoots of new life coming up at the same exact time. So it just depends on what you're focused on. Okay, nothing is good nor bad, but thinking makes it so. So if you're focused on the negative and what's dying or going down, then you're probably going to go down with it. So let's focus on what does work, what is growing and prospering and expanding, and let's be there. Let's really, really sink into that and use Jupiter for what it's good for. It's about defining your truth in Aries and who you are, your independence, your ability to be responsible for yourself. In Taurus, it is your material comfort. So if you get some things started in the first half of this year, they might yield some actual benefits by the end of the year. But you have to feel worthy. And so I want you to just consider, at this point, breaking patterns and opening up to the invisible guidance. Because, again, the gate of power is the shadow side, and it's really a time to work behind the scenes, to call on the ancestors, to call on the invisible guidance, to invite that in and work with it. Work with it. Set your intentions, but then ask for the guidance and be still and listen. I was watching a little sitcom program the other day, and this girl was crying the blues about something and was in church talking to God, and a spirit of a dead Indian friend showed up, and he said, "What are you doing?" And she said, "Well, I'm talking to the universe or Great Spirit or God or whatever you want to talk about, call it." And he said, "Really? You've got, the maker of all things going in a conversation. You're engaged in a conversation with the universe, and you're the one doing the talking?" So it was very cute and poignant and right to the point at that time, that we do want to receive, and these gates are when we can do that. That's when the veils are thinner. It's when the universe and spirits and ancestors and guides, angels, all of the invisible help wants to be there for you, but it does have to be invited. So you have to sort of pose your question and then sit there and be still for a minute and see what happens. And I'm telling you, these days, weird, physical, tangible things are happening. I mean, a book will fall off the shelf, a light will turn off. I've had pictures fall of a certain person that was involved in whatever I was praying on. There's all kinds of ways that this unfolds to get you the message from the universe, okay? Because the universe is always talking to us. So look for the signs. Again, think in terms of nature and animals. That's really important because they feel and know and sense things before we're even conscious of them. So a lot of times I've had a hawk actually follow me, and I stop and ask, what's the message? And usually within about an hour, I get the memo. So it's a way of being. It's a way of moving through and recognizing, again, that you have more help and support, even though it might be invisible, and that you do have guidance that you might not be, really recognizing. So we want to recognize that nothing is what it used to be. That's the other big piece here. I've been saying for the last couple of years that we need to do all the same things. We need to go to work, we need to pay bills, we need to function in our families and in our communities and things, but we need to do it in a whole new way. So what I'm noticing in readings and consultations and in my own life is when you go to do some autopilot behavior, you do something that you've done this way for 10 or 20 years, it doesn't even occur to you to change it, and it doesn't work. Those are the things you want to question. Those are the things you want to work on right now, coming up with new practices, new ways of being, doing, existing, and functioning, and experiment, and be okay with the experiment. It might not work this way, but then you got to try something else. You can't give up. You can't give up after one shot. So just keep experimenting until you find your new niche, your new rhythm, your new understanding of where you are in the grand scheme of things. And keep in mind, like I said, there's such bigger things coming down the pike that when we get these little personal activations, which the seasons are kind of an annual thing that gives us a chance to do some annual work, and the new moon, full moon, is monthly, every 6 months. We can work on that even quarterly, and you get things done. But this week we do have a lot of action. Venus, okay, I got to Mercury. Venus moved into Capricorn today. So this is a really yummy, delicious place, and we've got to think in terms of the whole thing. Now remember, when a planet changes sign or direction, number one, it intensifies the energy that we feel. And number two, it's usually a response to the last sign and a preparation for the next sign. So now we have the new moon, which has the sun and moon in some new space, Mercury on Thursday, Venus on Friday, and the cross quarter on Saturday. On Tuesday, Chiron re-enters Pisces permanently. So now the 5 years of Chiron through Aquarius is done. So right now, we want to really spend this weekend, Mercury in Aquarius, thinking outside the box. Venus in Capricorn, building something beautiful and useful, something that serves life, that preserves life and serves life. Very important, but Venus is also love and money, it's values, and when it gets into Capricorn, it becomes very, very practical and guided into building something tangible, useful, productive, something that is going to yield some return, okay? And that's all supported. Again, you have free will and choice, but I'm just telling you what's supported, and right now, really breaking your own patterns that don't serve you anymore is at the top of the list. And beyond that, once you at least commit to breaking the pattern, then the first step is so crucial. Just taking any step. And again, even if you fall flat on your face on the first step, you got to get up like a 2-year-old and try again. And speaking of 2 years, with Mercury hitting Aquarius, we also had the Sun and Mars hit the new moon and the Sun at the same time. Now, Mars has a 2-year cycle. So this Aquarius thing, you might want to go to the karmictools.com monthly forecast page. I believe there's an archive, and there's articles from 2 years ago on Mars hitting Aquarius when Jupiter did, setting a new 2-year cycle in place. And it's just huge. It's really well supported. And I, for one, have noticed that a lot of the things that we were doing and talking about then are happening now. And so I think those articles might be some tremendous support for those of you who can't think outside the box of what the next step really is right at this second. But I think it'll provoke some thought and get you going if you're having a hard time just getting going, because it is a 2-year process of breaking out of old patterns. And you're, again, really well supported. Mars is your desire nature. Sun is your identity. Moon is your interior nature, your emotional nature. And in Aquarius, we're really, really going into a new zone based on that Leo light that radiates from your center, from your heart. So as long as you're not being manipulative and you're doing things based in your heart, then they should find support along the way. And I'd like to share a couple of things. First of all, the activations for the upcoming week, really important to get that. We have this Aquarius energy, because it's an air sign, is in a really juicy angle to Saturn retrograde in Libra, an air sign. So Aquarius, which is generally community-oriented, but it is, again, about being unique and different in a really yummy, delicious angle, but something that has to be worked consciously to benefit, with Saturn going backwards in Libra. So as we're reestablishing balance in our structure, the structure of our lives, or the structure of our bodies, or the structure of our offering, or the work that we're doing, all of that is getting a review from now till June. So again, I have this, really good feeling about this. It's almost like we're getting 2 years in one. We have this first 6 months of the year that's a completely different flavor from what we're going to experience on the back end of this year. So enjoy it while it's here, because it is going to change come June, and that includes Saturn going forward. So with this new identity getting anchored with any kind of, again, pattern breaking means you're going to be initiating new patterns, okay? The universe abhors a vacuum, so you can't stop something without filling that zone in your being and being able to do something in its place. So Saturn is beaming to Sun and Mars and the Moon all together in a way that is going to help you really structure the new idea that's bubbling in your heart right now. And Venus hitting Capricorn means it's squaring the Jupiter, Uranus, and Aries thing. So that means Venus, your values, are testing the social level stuff. It's really hitting that higher level, going, okay, is what's important to me important to the community, important to the world, and how can we get that in alignment? And basically some choices have to be made. Basically you have to get responsible for your own love and money, for your own relationships, and how you relate with the outside world, and being responsible for all that while Jupiter's initiating the new Aries identity, the new beginning, the new 12-year truth and story, the new cycle. So as that's getting started, as long as you have your values in alignment, and as long as you know what's important to you and why it's important to you. Okay, why do you want that relationship? Why do you want that job? Why do you want that house? Why do you want anything? And getting very, very clean and clear about your motivations is also at the top of the list. So that's fairly quickly moving. All three of these activations happen on the 6th, which is Sunday. So this is going to help you cultivate your new moon and Aquarius power wishes, certainly, and your intentions for the month. Think in terms of a month ago when we had the Capricorn new moon solar eclipse. Okay, so we were already breaking patterns a month ago. You ought to have some results of that labor by now as well. And think about what you want to have in place a month from now. March 4th is the Pisces new moon, and that completes a year in and of itself. And we hit spring equinox, and a new solar year begins again. So we have all kinds of access to new beginnings, everyone. So you didn't miss the bus. You just got to figure out where you fit in and what feels good in your body in terms of a new beginning, and tune in to that. Now, like I said, on Tuesday, when Chiron hits Pisces, this is a permanent entry for the next 8 years. We're all going to be working on our boundaries, but anybody in the age range of 48 to 52 is getting their Chiron return over the course of this 8-year period, which means there could be a warm-up and a peak and then a cool-down period for you guys specifically. That's going over anyone with Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sagittarius planets. Okay, so that's going to activate my mutable babies. And that means Chiron is the wounded healer. It's all about healing and education. What you learn in your search for wholeness, in your search for healing, you get an education that you cannot get from a book, that you can only get from life experience. And Chiron rules all that. So it is education and healing. Hitting Pisces is that unity consciousness and all that. In fact, I think I have a quote for you guys on Chiron hitting Pisces from Boots Hart of daykeeperjournal.com. She speaks to, Uranus, there's a couple of things. Uranus and Pisces, which spent the last 7 years. So the other thing I want to put on the table is reflect on 2003 to 2010. That's essentially the 7-year period Uranus was in Pisces, okay? And then think about how you radically shifted in Pisces, some of what you believe to be true, some of the vision, some of that consciousness and conscious awareness, and any kind of belief systems that have been activated or deactivated. A lot of people are finding a different road to God, to spirit, to understanding of the universe and energy in general. And now it's hitting Aries for 7 years. So think in that 7-year block of Uranus radically different, and go back in 7-year increments and try to get a feel. Try to find the pattern. Okay, again, Uranus is kind of social collective. It's not real personal, but when it hits your personal planets, you feel like it's personal, okay, whether it technically is or not. You definitely feel that. So you're planning for this 8 years of a radical shift. So essentially, Jupiter's helping us get started. It's expanding the possibilities. It's showing you a broader view of what Uranus can really crack open over the course of the next 7 years. But remember, the next sign's Taurus, and we're going to have to anchor it all there. But just keep in mind, it's going to be bumpy for the near future. For the foreseeable future, it's just ride the wave. Get your surfboards out and do the best you can with what's in front of you. And I was looking for her Chiron piece, but I just found Neptune and Uranus. So it's all good. I think what we need to consider is the imbalances that create self-doubt and dependence on outer authority and things like that. Because what's happening is Pisces essentially has to do with either dissolving boundaries or the opposite. You know, an imbalanced Pisces will do negative Virgo and have too much boundaries, where they're blocking information that they actually need to process in order to be whole again. Okay, the whole concept of Virgo Pisces is being a spirit in human form. So I want you to really include pieces of that and expanding your awareness and deepening your healing and getting closer to an understanding of the bigger picture for yourself. And as it moves through this 8 years, it's going to hit everybody. It's going to test everybody's boundary issues. So knowing who you are and what you want is crucial to creating healthy boundaries. That means you have enough that keeps other energy from taking you out, which we all have experienced that at some point as well, and not so much thick boundaries that you can't hear or feel or sense what's going on around you. So you need to determine that as an individual, though. It's very important. And Saturn's really helping us do it in 3D. Structurally, we did the healing in Virgo. Now we're reestablishing balance. And like I said, we're moving towards Scorpio power. So whatever healing, is supported for you, this is really juicy, because we get connected to a new kind of spirituality that actually isn't new. It's ancient, but it's back. And the cycle is coming back around. So I think we're getting close to our time. You know me, I could go on and on and on. But the activations for this week, that's pretty much it. And Venus links up with Pluto. So we will talk a little bit about that next week as well, because it's going to get very intense with the Capricorn energy. This first activation with Jupiter is the lead-in. So it's kind of figuring out who you are and what you want. And then next week, we're going to get a chance to go deeper to excavate anything that's blocking those roots from being healthy.